Do LLCs really work? Can you do what's called pierce the veil of an LLC and lose your protection? Hi, I'm Jeff Hampton with STR Law Guys. Today I want to talk about LLCs. Many of you have heard of the expression piercing the veil. What does it mean to pierce the veil of an LLC? And what are some of the things that you should be careful of so that you, if you have an LLC, maybe with rental property in it, you can protect yourself from losing that protection? And let's learn today whether or not an LLC is enough by itself to really give you the protection you need. By the way, if you wait around to the end of this video, I'll provide you a free ebook, 5 strategies to protect your short-term rentals and give you peace of mind. So let's start with this concept here. Look, one of the things we talk about is everyone hears that if you, let's say you buy your first rental property, maybe it's a short-term rental, maybe it's a long-term rental, and hey, maybe I need to move these assets into an LLC. Right? And I'm with you. I'm a short-term rental owner as well. I own real estate as well. Maybe it's important to say, the first thing I thought of years ago is to say, maybe I need to move this property into an LLC. That's what everybody tells me. Well, that is true. One way to separate your ownership from your control is to be able to make sure and move it into something that's not in your personal name, which would be an LLC. That's a wonderful way to get started with asset protection. The problem is you have to understand the limitations of an LLC. In many states, courts have allowed attacking attorneys and creditors to do what's called pierce the veil of an LLC's protection. So I want to talk about what that means. Piercing the veil of an LLC is a legal term. It's a legal term used to describe a situation where a court disregards the legal separation between a limited liability company and its owners, known as members, and holds those members personally liable. Here's what's important. If you're listed as a member on that LLC, the court can then hold those members personally liable for the company's debts and obligations, any negligence, or anything else that might come up. This is typically done when an LLC is used for fraudulent or legal activities. Courts have found that to be a good reason for it, or when the members do not follow, here's a big one, the members don't follow certain procedures, requirements, or what's known as corporate formalities that each state has in the setup and maintenance of an LLC. So when a court pierces the veil, this is really important to understand. If a court makes a decision to pierce the veil, it essentially treats the LLC as if it did not exist as a separate legal entity. In other words, when we call pierce the veil, it's literally pulling apart the protection of that LLC, going down there and pointing at the members on that LLC saying, you are now personally liable for what's going on. Really important to understand that's what's taking place. And so the worst thing that could possibly happen is that you set up an LLC to protect your rental property, and then the court comes in and tells you you're still individually liable for exactly what took place as the subject of the lawsuit. So this can result in the member's personal assets being seized to pay off the company's debts or obligations. And that's the whole opposite of why you set up an LLC to begin with. So how do we talk about a few ways to avoid the risk of the veil being pierced? Well, number one of the best things you can do is all LLC owners should follow all the legal requirements for maintaining the separation between your business, your company, and its owners. This includes what? Basic stuff here, but I'll tell you right now, dealing with many clients, I find so many people violate these basic tenets here of maintaining the integrity of an LLC. Number one, you need to keep accurate records, right? Got to get a bookkeeper. Probably important to get an accountant. All right, it's important to make sure and keep your receipts and pay attention to what's going on. So you need to keep proper records. Number two, you need to maintain proper financial statements. Required in almost every state, keep proper records, maintain financial statements. You want to also make sure you do not ever commingle personal and business funds. And I get this question all the time. Jeff, do I really have to set up a separate bank account for each LLC that I set up? What if I've got 5 rental properties? Do I have to really set up a separate bank account for each one of them? Yes, you do, because that's why you get an EIN number for each LLC, and you need to open up a separate bank account and allow all your Airbnb and VRBO or whatever other activity you do, if it's a long-term rental or a short-term rental, all that activity flow through to that individual bank account assigned to that individual LLC. Well, think about it. Each LLC is its own business. It's its own separate entity. If you start mixing all that stuff together, or you start using your personal credit card to pay for LLC expenses, instead, here's what you need to do. You need to funnel as many business and all of your business expenses through that LLC. Get an individual, get a corporate card for that LLC, use that, make those expenses, plus you can rack up a bunch of good miles if you want to set up a business credit card for that. There's all types of incentives and perks you can get through that, through company cards and things like that. Look, it's really important though, most importantly, you've got to segregate those assets and those funds, because otherwise that is a way that an attacking attorney can pierce the veil of that protection. By following these guidelines, here's what happens. The LLC owners can then, in that situation, the members are less likely to be held liable for the personal decisions or for their personal assets being brought in to a business lawsuit, okay? Now, I know I'm using this as an example when I'm talking about short-term rentals and a real estate portfolio, but this applies to any business. Any business that you set up, don't be mixing all your personal stuff with your business stuff, because if you do that, the court's going to say, these people are a joke. They're not even keeping their own funds. They're not keeping accurate records, and they'll disregard that protection. So it's really important to do that. Now, by the way, I'm going to tell you this. People ask me this question: can the veil still be pierced even if I do everything right? I hate to tell you this, but the answer to that is yes. Sometimes it can still happen. There are certain states, particularly like California, they have court precedent where courts have essentially ruled that the veil can be pierced for arbitrary reasons. I mean, literally for almost no reason at all. Here you need to have, and I'm going to just tell you, to give an example of this, courts have ruled that they've just said, you know what? Based upon the plaintiff who's bringing the case, and based on the fact I think you tried to set up an asset protection structure, I think that was done for a fraudulent reason, and they'll just disregard it. So I am upfront with people. An LLC by itself in California is not much asset protection at all. So in that situation, how do you protect yourself? Certain states that don't give you that much protection and have court precedent that this type of LLC protection can be pushed off and disregarded, you need a more comprehensive asset protection law or asset protection strategy where you are able to layer your levels of protection. For example, let's say you have a California property. If you have a California property and you've put that into a California LLC, well, now instead of you being the member on that California LLC, you need to set it up where you set up a holding company, maybe an Arizona Limited Partnership, maybe a Wyoming LLC. Well, now you can borrow another state's beneficial laws if you use it in the position of the holding company. And now your California property, in order for them to bring that lawsuit, it's not owned by you anymore. That California attorney is going to have to extend that lawsuit into that other state where those beneficial laws are, because that's the business that owns your short-term rental or your rental property. You follow what I'm saying here? In order to have a more protective structure, you need to move that lawsuit into another state by using the right type of holding company strategy. That type of strategy will give you what's called charging order protection, which you don't get in California, and it will also give you privacy. So it'll help make you a smaller target. So these are just a few of the examples of why when people tell me, hey, what does it mean to pierce the veil? What does it mean? Is an LLC by itself enough protection? No, not really. An LLC is but one layer of multiple layers. Good insurance, good LLC, good holding company, good trust. There are many ways to be able to set up something, a good asset protection strategy that really protects you regardless of what state you choose to invest in. Well, listen, I hope this was a benefit to you. I promised you the 5 strategies to protect your short-term rentals and give you peace of mind. If you click down into the description section of the YouTube video, I'll be happy to send that over to you. You'll see the link down there. Input your email address. We'll send it over to you. And if you liked what you heard here today, check out the channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I keep sending you more great content just like this. And thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time.